Video number 5. On the 20th of May, which was on a Tuesday, Tuesdays are relevant to me for some reason, I got an email off my wife. At that time, an NGO lady used to come into Tihar and she would smuggle out emails for us, you know. Anyway, I met this woman on this Tuesday and she gave me an email from my wife. Prior to that, the previous email I sent her, I just explained that I couldn't carry on, like, you know. I could see no end at the, no light at the end of the tunnel. And I just wanted to finish the story. The email I got back was a shitty email, and that's all I can say. It wasn't a nice email. So I left this woman very much depressed, and as I was walking back to my ward, I found a piece of glass. Glass is banned in TR because people like to cut people. Doesn't stop them from cutting people, believe you me, but anyway, glass was banned. Yet I found this piece of glass, picked it up, walked back into my ward, and the yard was empty. Everybody was inside having lessons on Hindi and whatever. So I'm sitting there in the yard, holding this piece of glass, and it was like my ego was saying, do it, just do it, finish it. So I did. I slashed both of my wrists 3 times, I think, on each wrist, and just had my hands hanging over my knees, watching this blood just slowly coming out. And after a couple of minutes, I could feel this weight coming off my shoulders. It was lovely. That's all I can say, it was lovely. And the next thing, I'm on a stretcher. Go into the main entrance, which is the Diodi. And next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance, so I must have been going in and out of consciousness. And they took me to Safrajung Hospital in New Delhi. This hospital, it was like an abattoir, and I'll say no more. They put me on a bed. There was blood on it and other stuff that I didn't know what it was, but I didn't care. They hooked me up to a drip, and the next thing I knew, it was like 6 o'clock in the evening. Bearing in mind I did this about 10:30 in the morning. So I sort of come round, and there was guards by the side of the bed, so I got off the bed, and then they took me into this office where there was what they would call the head Saab. He had 3 red stripes on his arm, and he was the boss. And he looked very sternly at me and he said, "You committed suicide." I thought, well, I nearly did, but I went, yeah. He said, "This will get you into a lot of trouble." I said, "Fuck off, man. I'm in prison. I'm in TR. What more are you going to do to me?" And he said, "You've got to promise me that you will not commit suicide again." I said, "Okay." He said, "No, you must promise." So I promised him that I wouldn't commit suicide another time. And he looked at me and his face changed and it went kindly. And he pulled out a packet of gold leaf cigarettes and he said, "You want a cigarette?" I said, "Yes, please." And I took this cigarette, bearing in mind that I'd been a smoker for over 40 years. And I'd had few puffs on a biddy weeks and weeks ago. I smoked this cigarette and it was nectar. It was like nectar from the gods. Oh, I enjoyed it so much. And then he gave me a cup of chai, Indian chai, and it was beautiful. So I smoked this cigarette, and he said, we'll be taking you back to jail now. I said, can I have one more cigarette, please? So he gave me another cigarette and sat there quite patiently while I smoked it, and then took me back to Tihar. When I got inside, I went to go through this small door to go into the jail, and I was stopped, and they said, you're going to Central Jail number 3. I said, why? They said, you're going to the hospital. I said, oh, okay. So we go through this door into CJ1 where I was housed, and there's big walls all the way around the jails. Each jail has got a big wall, but they're all interconnected. And there was a little door on the side of this wall, and he just opened this door, and the next thing we're in Central Jail number 3. And it felt really nice. That's all I can say. The atmosphere was so different to CJ1. And they took me to the hospital. It's not a real hospital. I mean, there's no operations, there's no surgeons, nothing like that. There's 2 or 3 doctors that's got their own office, and they read papers, and when they have to, they'll get off their arse and do what they've got to do. And within the hospital, there was a HIV wing, which consisted of 12 cells. Then there was a TB ward that had about 40 beds in it, and the psychiatric ward, which had about 20 beds in it, and that's where they put me. So I'm lying on the bed. Somebody comes along and gives me a cup of tea. I was grateful for that. And then things started to happen. I can't go into too much detail because it's gross. But it involved one man on a bed. I don't think all his apples was there, like. And there were 2 servitors. Now, these are convicts that have a little bit of responsibility, and they have to stay awake all night and make sure that everything is as it should be. Anyway, they dragged this guy onto the floor and they handcuffed him to the bottom of the bed, and they did things that I shouldn't have seen, like. This was on the Tuesday night. Wednesday night was exactly the same. So come Thursday, I went to the doctor and I said, look, doc, I want to go back to CJ1. He said, no, you have to stay here for a month. I said, if I do not go back to my jail today, I'm going to inform the British consulate of what's going on under your control. And he looked at me with daggers, and he just went like that. So I wandered off, and in the afternoon I was transferred back to CJ1. Met up with Danny Boy, and he said, what's going on, Steve? So I showed him my wrist, they were all bandaged up, and I said, oh, I did something stupid and blah, 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 blah. I said, but I'm back now, and I said, I'm over that. He said, you're not going to do this again? I said, no. I hit a real low point, and I said, it's finished. Anyway, before I go, I want to give a big shout to my daughter, Rebecca. I love her so much. And she's helped me out with these videos. I've never done anything like this before. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Still not too sure what I'm doing. But she said that I should mention that if you like these videos, then please leave me comments. And I will, and if you've got questions, I will answer them. If I can, without revealing too much about other people and whatever. But please, leave me comments. I need feedback from all of this. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks.